Now, I've been hearing a lot of this from the SEC folks. I'm from SEC country. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. My mom's a diehard LSU fan. My wife's from Alabama. She's at Alabama. She roll tides all day long. They say roll tide for every damn thing. Like, they see each other, roll tide, roll tide. I'm like, man, come on, man, get on with that. Both of my sister-in-laws went to Alabama. My nieces graduated from Alabama, both of them. And they're all telling me Texas and OU are over their heads when it comes to being in the SEC. And my first thought on that was, y'all said the same thing about Missouri. You said the same thing about Texas A&M. And they came in and wrecked y'all league for the first 3 years. A&M went, yeah.
First off, all right, I'm going to take up for Texas fans right here. Don't come in here speaking that Jimbo Fisher bull crap. Jimbo Fisher, outside of that year with Jameis Winston, those 2 years, he's a notorious 8-5 coach. Okay?
8-5.
He is, I think, 29-10 in the past 3 seasons at Texas A&M. The only good year he has had is a COVID year, and they still weren't good enough to make the playoffs. And I'm telling you now, I know for a fact there were coaches on that. There were voters on that panel as far as the college playoff, looking at OSU serious, taking them extremely seriously, basically saying like, hey, they could jump Texas A&M. They are playing the best football out of anybody right now. They're the hottest team in America. Okay,
yeah.
So. But with that said, I don't think OU and Texas are over their head. You got to look at it. Bama's going to be a juggernaut, okay? So Bama's going to be that one team that you say, all right, you say that about Florida and Georgia every year. All right, if they want to make the playoff, they got to beat Bama in that championship game. But here's the deal, and here's what people have to understand. The SEC has always been top heavy. You have Bama, Georgia, Florida, and LSU.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can throw in Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to take a cut. Okay, they're going to take a cut in recruiting. They're going to take a cut in a lot of different areas because OU and Texas are back. Second of all, when you start looking at teams like you look at LSU. LSU is likely going to be on probation for a whole bunch of infractions that they've had, and they may be minor infractions, but LSU is taking a hit. That was a great year that they had, but we don't really know what Ed Orgeron is as a coach. He had a great year. He had a terrible year. What is this year going to be?
That was lightning in the bottle, man. That was lightning in the bottle. That was the passing game coordinator from the Saints who came in and revamped that offense. And now that he left, that team ain't nothing on offense.
Exactly. So now, I mean, they're on their fifth leg, their fifth wheel with quarterbacks. But then when you look at Georgia, you're saying to yourself time and time again, and Seth, you know where I'm going with this. Kirby Smart is not that smart. We don't know what he's going to do with that team. All right. He's just like Coach Gundy. He will not give the reins up to the offense. Todd Monken has came in there, and Jesus, he's supposed to be the second coming of Jesus with the offense. But I'm just going to say this. I'm not a big believer in JT Daniels. And with them losing George Pickens Jr., I think that is a huge loss that nobody's talking about. I get that you have two monsters of tight ends, but at the same time, everybody's not going to be scared of you running a twin package with them. You have a great backfield of a plethora of running backs, but at the same time, we know the constant result in Georgia. Great recruiting, no results on the field. And then Florida, Seth, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to let you go. But with Florida, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hey,
y'all just beat Florida. Y'all tore them down, didn't you?
Hi, Dan. How
you doing?
Yeah. For people who are questioning of whether or not OU and Texas are in over their heads going into the SEC grind, I think they'll be surprised, and I think it's going to be like you said. Like that's a good point when you bring up about like Missouri and Texas A&M and how they did in their first few years into the SEC. You know, they definitely surprised a lot of people because they weren't even that good. You know, in the last few years that they were in the Big 12. You know, I know Missouri had some good years, but that was in like 2008, 2007. whenever they were like last like a legit threat in the Big 12, and then as soon as they get to the SEC, they're like in the SEC championship game in back-to-back years. Same with A&M. They like you said, Johnny Football shocking the nation, beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and doing everything he did. So I think we'll see something similar to that as far as OU and Texas, and especially with OU. Just speaking, since I'm more familiar with the OU side of things and what OU's working with, and I'm obviously we're a year away at least from like season, so a lot of things are going to be different. We probably won't have Spencer Rattler and a bunch of other people, but with what Lincoln Riley has built, going into now his like fourth season or fifth season, I guess now, as a head coach, and then what Alex Grinch is building on defense. This is a team that can and will compete with the best of the best. And yeah, the SEC, it is the best conference overall. Their middle of the road teams are no better than a lot of other Power 5 middle of the road teams. They're very top heavy, and yeah, Alabama's the king. I'll give them that. Yeah. Georgia's got a great defense. Florida, they can be good whenever they don't use their scout team. LSU, had that one amazing year. Yeah, that might have been arguably the best college football season from a team we've ever seen, maybe. Yeah. So I'll give them all that, but those a schedule isn't made up of 12 of those kind of games, and that's where I think a lot of SEC people they see what OU's done in the playoffs and against Alabama and Georgia and LSU, and they say, oh, that's what they're going to do. They just fall flat on their face and they're going to get blown out. But they'll play that kind of level of opponent twice, maybe
a year, maybe 3 times
if they get to the SEC championship game. But everything else is very winnable. Same goes for Texas. We've seen Texas. Especially under Tom Herman. He rose up every time
they beat the SEC. They gone in and beat Georgia. Beat Missouri. They gone in and beat the most high potent offense the SEC has ever seen in Missouri. Yeah. Shut them down. So
they were like one of the
seen what can happen.
Yeah, I would argue that Texas probably gave LSU, back in 2019, maybe its toughest game for sure out of anybody that whole season. That came down to the wire. So it's different when leagues start playing other leagues, especially when you're not familiar with your opponent. Like and being in the Big 12, teams after several years you just know the opponent. Like coaches just build a familiarity with their opponents, and it's going to be different. So yeah, like OU and Texas are going to have to do that for all their opponents. They're all going to be new to them, and mostly it goes both ways, and I think that's why we're going to see relative amount of success, at least right out of the gate. Like it's definitely not going to be some situation where they're going 6-6 or 7-5 and just struggling to get to a bowl game. Like there's going to be some raised eyebrows on the Paul Feinbaum show and whatnot. People are like, well, wait a minute, what are we watching here? But they're coming.
Yeah. Hey man, I totally agree with you because first off, it's not going to be 6-6 because the SEC schedules north, south, eastern direction school for 3 games a season. So we're gonna get the northern Illinois Mountain West to the North Dakota State School the first game of the season, and then after that we're gonna get South Dakota A&M somebody for the second game. The game prior to our game will probably be playing against Lamar or somebody. That's what A&M did 2 years ago. But hey, I agree with you guys, man, because when you start to look at just the middle, pack, you got Ole Miss, you got Mississippi State, you got Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt, right? Come on, you got Missouri, you got South Carolina. You got Kentucky that's good every now and then, but usually they're not that good. You're talking about
Tennessee.
Tennessee. God, I forgot Tennessee. That's how bad Tennessee's been. We just named off 7 teams, 7 out of the 14 original teams in that conference that are, let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? And so, I hate hearing people say this SEC gauntlet. Yes, it is the toughest conference because it's the most top-heavy conference. You do have your Bamas, and as long as Nick Saban's there, Bama's going to be on a roll. It is what it is. You do have LSU, who is hit or miss, but one thing about LSU, They're going to always bring a good defensive line and a good like O line. So they're always going to be really good at like just straight like in the trenches. Georgia's always good, but they just can't get to the next step, right? They're like can't get right? So they can get up there to the top, but they can't cross it, right? And then after that, Florida's hit or miss too. Just over like the past, like honestly, 5 or 6 years, they've been hit or miss. And so yeah, it is Bama, and Bama's been carrying the weight over there for the longest. It is what it is. We all know it, and it just is what it is. But I also think that Texas and OU are going to do really well for these first couple years, because now with this announcement that both teams are going to the SEC, this is going to essentially close the borders here in Texas, man. Because now these kids who don't want to go to College Station, right, they can say, oh, I can go to OU or Texas. Like I can still go and still play in the SEC. And like I don't have to go to Bama, and I don't have to go to LSU. My mom can still drive to see all my games, and then a couple games in state also, like A&M, and so this gives opportunity for Texas to close the borders, to where it's only going to be Texas A&M, and OU feeding off this Texas talent, and there's enough talent in that state to go around. And you won't have, in my opinion, as many kids jumping ship to go to Alabama, going to Florida, going to Ohio State that comes in and takes all the talent that they want out of Texas, because we simply just don't play the talented teams like they do. So us going straight into the SEC allows us to close those borders just a little bit more, and it's going to cause us to keep the talent there, which is going to make the transition for us a lot easier than what people think.
I mean, I would definitely, just to piggyback on Seth's point first. You got to think it's a difference having a month to prepare for a Lincoln Riley offense with a terrible defense. But now you got 3 days to prepare for a Lincoln Riley offense, and then Grinch is coming out there with a system that's going pretty fast. If Sark brings that structure that we've talked about time and time again, Seth, to Texas, and especially if he's given enough time to get the athletes that he wants in there, I mean, you're talking. He just had the most explosive offense in the nation last year with Alabama. So you're gonna have to get Alabama talent though. But at the same time, if you keep those kids in there, you're telling a lot. You're putting a lot of pressure on those teams, because the thing is that, and you're correct, because the big point here is that Missouri and Texas A&M have came in and had a bunch of success in your league, and they ran spread offenses, but there ain't nothing like what Lincoln is running over there in Norman. And I'll even say Sark. There's nothing like what Sark was running last year, especially at Alabama. So it's going to be hell on wheels. As I guess to offer some comedic relief, what I would say is that, I said it on my Twitter. I mean, this got me to actually tweet. I don't even really tweet like that, but this got me to like actually go on Twitter and say some stuff. But I've seen this before, and I don't know how many of your viewers or how many of the people listening to our podcast are big WWF fans. But back in the day, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to WCW as the outsiders. All right. They came there. People stuck their hands out. They slapped their hands. People told them, hey, kiss my baby. They walked right past them. OU and Texas are coming for blood and championships. They're not coming to be all happy because they're in the SEC. If you want that, go to Texas A&M. Go to College Station. That's where they're happy to be in the SEC. They're happy to have that banner. We don't care about the banner. We want championships. We want to go play with the big boys. This is one thing I would say about Texas and OU. People are acting like, okay, it's sweet around here. OU and Texas, granted, I think it was too far out. They scheduled Alabama and all these teams in the SEC, so it's not like they were ducking them.
Ain't like we're scared.
Now,
you know what I'm saying? Ain't like we're scared.
Now, just like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did, they're going over there to raise hell. Let's bring it to you a little bit earlier than what you expected. So this is the thing. You got a big brand, and then you got a winning brand.
come on, man. Hey, don't hate on that last decade, all right? I was not responsible for Charlie Strong. I was not responsible for Tom Herman. All right. I'm tired of changing coaches. All right. I'm tired of changing coaches. We're gonna be all right though.
What's the next one, man? Run me to the next one.
Man, you a fool, man. All right, man. So hey, we all know, man, that the SEC, the tailgating is off the chain. I mean, to me, it's like none other, man. So I'm a Louisiana kid. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. I can't wait to go down to Baton Rouge. I was anticipating going to Baton Rouge this past year, and then COVID hit, right? So, what are the matchups that you guys want to see? What's your favorite tailgate that you think that you're going to want to go see in the SEC?
Man, I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like the scene down at Ole Miss, down there in Oxford, Mississippi, the Grove is what I believe is what they call it. That place looks like it's pretty. They got like chandeliers hanging down from tents and stuff. They got all the the platters and the lineups. It's just you're gonna get what you want as far as whatever you want to dine on. But then like it just looks like it's a very kind of a familial atmosphere. So if I was ever going to go wanting to go tailgating in some kind of a SEC country, I think that'd be an OU Ole Miss kind of game. But as far as like with like a matchup, this might be. I mean, this team has been in the news just as much as OU and Texas, just because of over this last couple of weeks, just because of where what happened. And I can't wait to rematch with Texas A&M again. I mean, out of all the teams, like. Honestly, I would be more excited going into OU Texas A&M week than let's say like an OU Alabama week. I don't know why. I think it's just the fans or something. It's the history, man. It's the history. It's the trash talk. Like, because like Alabama's the big dog and everybody knows it. So it's almost like, it would be very exciting if OU were to win a game like that. But I wouldn't have as much fun like on the social side of it, as I would if just beating down on A&M or something after all this mess that's gone down, and after all the crying they've done, and I mean, and they want to talk about like not being afraid of competition or anything over the last decade, but as soon as this news broke, the only ones that have been crying and complaining and whining out of anybody. It's been A&M, and so like that's the matchup that I cannot wait. As soon as they finally release these schedules, whenever it is, sometime next year, the year after, I'm gonna circle that one if it works out that way, because they still got to determine if they're going to do pods or whatnot. But I think it needs to be on that first schedule at least if they can make it happen.
Yeah. So how about you, Chris?
I guess I was over here thinking the whole time. I was like, all right, so we already own property in Missouri. We own property in College Station. When we go out down there in our second home in Dallas, Oklahoma to play at Jerry's.
Hold on, player. Hold on, player.
Hey, look, I'm just playing.
Hold on, player.
Look, so we got those three places. I guess Neyland Stadium, we own that place now.
It'd be fun to watch that one. Another OU Tennessee.
I would say, I think you were supposed to get that matchup. Was it not?
Oh, that's right. It was supposed to be last season. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, let's see. I would say probably Ole Miss, just because I've heard so much about it. As far as like a tailgate. I know, Tuscaloosa, I mean, as hot as it is down there, I still probably want to go. But I think as far as a matchup, man, it's something about, I've always thought about, okay, what if OU, Texas, and OSU went to the SEC? Because you got to think about it. You would have Auburn at 2:30 coming to Stillwater, and then the 8 o'clock ABC game would be Bama coming to Norman. Like, under the lights, the palace, on the prairie. Come on now. Hey, if that don't get you riled up, I don't know what will, man. That's whew, boy. Hey, that gets me riled up right there, boy.
Hey, I am just, Seth, I'm gonna piggyback on you, man. I am so ready for the Texas A&M rivalry to be renewed, man. I got friends with the A&M and all the smack talk. Y'all don't want it. This is prior to the SEC decision, right? And y'all scared, and you guys are scared. And we all know Krista Conte, our AD has basically been trying to get this game on the schedule since he came in. He's telling A&M, hey, replace Prairie View with us. Do it. Honestly, Texas and Texas A&M, that rivalry should have never went away. It should be just like South Carolina and Clemson have every year, right? To where they play every year. It is what it is. It should be the same thing. Texas and Texas, A&M should be playing every year regardless of conference. But now, I don't think the players are scared, Seth. They've been on Twitter and social media saying, hey, let's bring it. It's the coach. It's the AD. It's the president. It's all the decision makers that have been so butthurt, which is like really been getting at me, man. Because it's just like you guys have talked so much mess about we're not ready to play you guys, and we've been saying that you guys are scared to play us. This just validates all Texas and OU fans' opinions about what A&M was, and I get it. Look, I totally get it. A&M left early. They left to go to the SEC 10 years ago because they wanted to get out of the shadow of us, get out of the shadow of OU as well, because they wanted to find their own footing, right? And they go to the SEC, they get their Heisman Trophy winner, they start to have some, some kind of success. They have this COVID year here. They finish 5th in the nation. Everything's looking good for them. And as soon as, they start to recruit better and everything's looking good and grand and great for them, it's like big brother and big cousin come over and say, hey, man, hey, bro, we coming home. We coming home, man. I was on tour in the military overseas. I'm back home now, baby. You know what I'm saying? So, I totally get it why they mad, because A&M understands the complexity that it is when you have Texas and OU back in your backfield again. They know that they got to fight for every scrap right now. It's not that they don't have that one chip to say, hey, OU in Texas, yeah, I know you've been a Texas fan your whole life. I know OU's balling out of control right now, but they don't play the best talent. They ain't in the SEC. They can't say that anymore.
They can't say that.
Nope.
They can't say that anymore.